Okay, so starting in the 51st minute, Liverpool have just won back possession. They're passing it back into their 3-1 midfield shape with Clark, Bonner and Matthews, and Nagano sitting ahead of them. Just as Liverpool did, Leicester City here immediately counter-press and contest possession. Typically, Leicester did this in a 4-1-2-3 or a 4-1-2-1-2 shape. The distinction between the two being that whilst Peterman is the centre forward, she was tasked with marking Nagano to try and force Liverpool into playing around the centre into the channels. Okay, so we can see some of that here with our back line, back four, Thibault, our CDM, Tierney and Rantala pressing towards their players more centrally, and Peterman, like I said, marking Nagano. Just note here Fisk, and similarly off screen, Hinds, our two Liverpool wing-back, who because of this 3-1 shape had a ton of space to be able to work in if Liverpool were able to find them, and on the occasions when they did, it was extremely dangerous. Anyway, on this occasion, Liverpool are forced to pass all the way back into Laws, and often when Liverpool set up in their deep 3-1 shape, which wasn't especially often, the goalkeeper and defenders sought to play long into Roman Haag with support nearby. So we're talking of the wing-backs and the forwards, but especially Keames and Hobinger. It's exactly what we see here with the ball into Hoag and the support nearby for flick-ons. It's really important that Leicester City were able to defend that, but that was a 5v4 in Liverpool's favour, showing just how useful having Hoag as a focal point could be. Speaking of transition, both teams sought to counter, especially late on after the subs. So we're specifically talking of Van der Sanden and Enderby for Liverpool and Dejan Rose for Leicester City. And I think this scenario in the 76th minute exemplifies that, with Liverpool defending Leipzig's long ball, and on the regain, Liverpool counter-attack with an early pass into Van der Sanden, who's staying high. Similarly, Enderby staying high in a counter-attacking position, and here, after forcing Leicester City to reset at least towards the left-hand side for Leicester City, Liverpool in their 3-1 shape looked to get the ball towards the left-hand side where Van der Sanden had stormed off towards to try and have the two subs combine. Fortunately for Leicester City, Dejan Rose is having none of it. She regains possession, and then she seeks to do the same for Leicester City, injecting pace, not just with her running, but also her incisive pass into Goodwin, the most dangerously positioned player at the time. Note also how the centre forwards for Leicester City have split to make it easier for Dejan Rose and the others to be able to play those early through balls, because defenders typically want to keep things tight and will most often defend the central area. Unfortunately, this attack breaks down, Liverpool regain possession, and as you could imagine, they then counter too. From the chaos of counter-attack, we move back to the 5th minute and Liverpool having this set-piece routine. We see that first with this throw-in, with Haug trying her best here to lay the ball back off into Fisk whilst preventing the defenders for Leicester City being able to get into this channel, to make it as easy as possible for Hobinger to make her late run into said channel and then combine with those numerous forwards. Unfortunately, Fisk's touch is poor. Leicester City contest possession, eventually leading to Fisk finding space wide. As I mentioned earlier, on several occasions, this led to dangerous opportunity, and that's unsurprising given just how many players Liverpool could get in the box, including the far-sided wing-back. The far-sided wing-back in Hinds, who we eventually see get on the ball after Liverpool's 3-2 midfield set up in this rest defence to counter-press Leicester City's clearances, win the ball high and get the ball out into Hinds and the left centre-back Matthew, allowing Liverpool to recycle possession and whip in another cross with those same players from the earlier cross still being positioned high. Unfortunately, Matthew's cross is deflected for a corner kick, but fortunately for us, Liverpool try another set-piece routine with Keanes at the near post, peeling away from the front post, receiving the short corner kick, and she's not tracked. She takes advantage of this being relatively early in the game, no one taking responsibility, the defenders not wanting to rush out given that at least their goal side. Obviously, this put Keanes in a dangerous position. Fortunately, her cross is blocked. So moving just a minute ahead, we get to see Leicester City clearing the ball here through Green on the left-hand side, allowing Liverpool to easily regain possession, this being after Liverpool corner kick, which is part of why we see Hinds set up here. But this allows Liverpool to set back up into that 3-1 deep midfield position against that 4-1-2-1-2 or 4-1-2-1-3 press for Leicester City. So we see that press setting up. As we mentioned, the forwards were looking to try and press Liverpool towards one side. We see that in the urgency from Goodwin here, pressing towards Hinds. We get to see that 3-1 and the press setting up a little bit better here. Hinds is rushing back to her left wing back position. Bonner is still getting back after that corner kick to take up her central centre-back position, and then she's flanked either side by Clark and Matthews, with Nagano sitting just ahead of them. And then for Leicester City, we've got Peterman, who's looking to stay in that central space, typically marking towards Nagano, with her being flanked by her two forwards, looking to try and press towards whichever side Liverpool pass towards. You see this narrowing progress as Liverpool get further towards that left-hand side. Given Leicester City's pressure, the Leicester City defensive line has to position quite high to squeeze the space. But as we see here with Hines' long ball, this creates space in behind for their forwards to try and exploit. Fortunately for Leicester, they're able to defend the long ball, and then they step into that 3-2 shape. So we can see Nevin, the left back, inverting to partner Thibault, which allows Rantala and Tierney to play between the lines. Although they were often attended or marked by the Liverpool defence, given that they had a back five, it allowed them to be able to push out into that space between the lines and still have cover. Okay, so I really like this scenario because we get to see this synchronized movement of the midfielder to create space for the players between the lines. So I'm talking specifically of Nevin here pulling out wide from her inverted position, while simultaneously Rantala is pulling back inside. And given that we've talked about the fact that Liverpool want to try and press, they want to try and mark players, this opposing movement by Rantala and Nevin asks difficult questions in real time as to who is going to pick up whom. Do you concede the space centrally to Rantala, or do you concede the space out wide to Nevin? Fortunately for Leicester, they concede the space to Rantala, but her pass makes Kane's life quite difficult. But the point of showing the scenario was to show that synchronized movement between the two layers of midfield, Rantala and Tierney, Thibault and Nevin. And this is also a good example of Leicester City's counter-pressing leading to quite a good chance. Going to have a look at the 19th minute. We've got Leicester City regaining possession, retreating to Leipzig, and then setting up into that 3-2 shape. Again, note that this is the space between your two centre-backs, which does allow Leipzig to be able to play as a third centre-back, although it does also pose questions for your rest defence if things break down. Slight foreshadowing there. So we can see that 3-2 a little bit better with our defenders and our midfield of Nevin and Thibault. We can see how each of the players are adjusting, especially for Liverpool, to the movement of the players that they're trying to mark, especially given Leipzig's proclivity to try and push up into a more centre-back position, making it easier for her to play those balls through the lines. Note also Nagano's position. She's taking this halfway position so that she can jump in case the forwards for Liverpool look to try and rush Leipzig. So just as we saw in that earlier example, you're going to have this synchronized movement between the midfielders to create space for a deeper player to be able to play through the lines. We see that here with Nevin and Thibault pulling away from each other to create space centrally, which on this occasion Tierney takes advantage of. Unfortunately, as can happen with this kind of tactic, Liverpool regain possession. Part of the problem with asymmetric or lopsided build-ups is the awkwardness that results when the defenders try and reset. So we can see that in a number of players' positions, the two centre-backs as wide as they were earlier. We've now got Thibault, our centre defensive midfielder, dropping to become a third centre-back. We've got Nevin, our left-back, now as a left centre defensive midfielder, which suggests that far side, the right winger for Liverpool will have space and time. And also because of the fact that Liverpool, the ones that have won the ball, the momentum is in their favour, and with the man marking, they now have potential 4 versus 3 here. Fortunately for Leicester City, they're able to defend this transition. We've got another deep build-up by Leicester City in the 34th minute. At this point, they've been burnt a few times by trying that 3-2 with Nevin inverting. So instead, they try and build up in a 2-3 shape with more traditional positioning by Nevin. Although Liverpool are still looking to try and man mark. Fortunately or unfortunately, Leicester still want to play short goal kicks here. Leipzig takes responsibility, but under pressure, she plays a poor pass and Liverpool seek to capitalise. First with Nagano's early pass forwards, but then with their man marking, allowing them to squeeze up the pitch and really pin Leicester City back. So despite Leicester City's 2 attempts at clearances, Liverpool are able to win the ball back in Leicester's defensive third, beat Leicester's counter pressure, and then get the ball into that right wing space that I mentioned being slight defensive vulnerability, although you could mention both wide spaces given Liverpool's 5-2-3 shape. On this occasion, Lawley is released on that right hand side and she whips in a dangerous cross with numerous players in the box to contest, with Howe drawing out an incredible save. Okay, and then lastly, I just wanted to touch on Leicester City's 2-3 midfield shape with an incredible amount of flexibility amongst their forward and the left-hand side. So this is part sort of serendipity, but we end up with Tierney, our right centre midfielder, floating across towards that left-hand side, dribbling in this left-hand space and dragging Leicester City up the pitch. The rest of the team immediately follow her, and we get to see that 3 of the midfield midfield. So Thibault flanked by Nevin, our left back, now at right centre midfielder on the edge of the box. With this flexibility, you could even end up with Green, our left centre back, under or overlapping in that left hand side channel. On this occasion, the cross comes in, Liverpool are able to clear it or half clear it, and given the numbers that Leicester have high up the pitch, they're able to take advantage of the poor clearances. This wasn't a common occurrence because Leicester City rarely had sustained possession in Liverpool's half. Anyway, with that, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, consider sharing it on social media, subscribing, giving the video a like. It goes a really long way. Please let me know in the comments what you think about the video, how I can improve it. And with that, we're out.